Hey everyone, this is Jeremy, and welcome back again to another weekly VR game dev update, live stream, and Q&A for CYCOM Cybernet Combat. I'm actually on the Steam store page of CYCOM right now. It's actually slated to release on October 30th, so we're super excited about that. The builds are all up, everything's been approved, and our page is all set and ready to go. So you can actually Google search CYCOM, CYCOM on Steam, and you'll be able to find our page here. And you can actually start downloading, playing the early access version of the game on October 30th in about 5 days. So we're super excited about that. Today, I wanted to focus today's live stream update on reviewing your feedback from our alpha tester community. We also did a meetup this weekend where we had a bunch of different people, various age groups, come and play test the game. So I wanted to review the feedback with you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. I almost broke my vibe there. Don't worry, these things are very durable. So let's take a look at the first. I wrote a bunch of notes. You guys aren't going to be able to see what's on the screen. It's super small, but I'll go ahead and just read it out, some of the highlights to you guys. So the first tester we had was a kid about like 7, 8, ish years old, 10 years old, around there. So we noticed that he was able to instinctively pick up a lot of things in the tutorial, and almost everybody who play tested this weekend naturally were inclined to go into the tutorial, which I guess makes a lot of sense. One issue that one thing that everybody had an issue with was we had to tell them to press the menu button. So menu buttons right over here on the controller. So just with interaction design in general, it's really hard to get people or teach people how to use buttons. The less buttons you can use, the better, really, fundamentally. We believe, at least. So the menu button's right here, and you had to press this to open up the compile gauge. Oh, Patrick. Patrick's over here eating a Cliff Bar and being very distracting. But but don't worry, we've taken all that feedback and we've actually just gotten rid of that functionality completely. So if you take a look, the build on Steam right now has this change. So when the compile gauge goes all the way up to full, your cards will automatically pop up. And we play tested that and realized, yeah, the gameplay was a lot smoother, and you would normally want to bring up your compile gauge as soon as it goes full anyways. So it didn't really make much of a negative impact on the player experience, and it definitely removes a lot of the confusion with having to press this button to bring up your programs. In terms of discoverability, having them just pop up makes it a lot more fun too, because what we noticed, how the play style of people who didn't know about the menu button, even after being told and taught in the tutorial, they would just continue using the Lemon Buster, the weak standard weapon, and they wouldn't really get to use their programs unless we told them to, hey, you can press the menu button to bring up your programs. And it's a lot more fun to play with the programs, so we decided to get rid of it and just have the programs come up so you have a more fun experience overall. We also found that very, very often, actually like everybody that tested, for the sword, for the bomb, things that you have to hold this trigger for. So normally you just have to press the trigger to shoot. Looks like I got a game running. To shoot your gun, and you just have to tap it and release. But for the sword, you have to press and hold it, and for the sword to stay out. And also for the same thing for the bomb, you have to press and hold for the bomb to pop up, and then you throw it and let go. But we noticed a lot of people would just do this, and the sword would come up and disappear immediately, because when you let go of the trigger, right now by design, the sword goes away immediately. And same with the bomb. The bomb would just drop on their feet, and they get damaged. So, and this was one of my concerns from the very beginning about, nobody instinctively knows to hold things. Even though on the program itself we have a description that says hold the thing, but nobody reads, and even if they do read, they don't fully understand what that means when you're actually inside the game. So the plan is to get rid of that and just have when you tap the trigger, the sword just comes out, or the Gatling gun, you know, the round, however number of rounds of ammo, it kind of stays until you use it up. And for the bomb, for now, it's still brainstorming, but like you pull the trigger on the bomb comes up, and then you push the trigger again, and then let go and throw the bomb. Now, I've seen this kind of UI interaction in Quiver. It's a bow and arrow game in VR, very popular, multiplayer, and they have an item, a superpower that's kind of like you pull this, and then this bomb, this fire bomb, and then you do it again, and you let go and throw it. So what that allows us to do in terms of interaction design standpoint is you pull the trigger and then you see something happen. So you get a chance to think about, okay, what should I do next? And so it gives the player more room to make mistakes, whereas if we just kept it to hold, and the moment you let go, the item goes away, you don't have another chance to try to figure out how it works. So we're going to try that. It's not going to be out in the single-player release in 5 days. That's going to take a little bit more work, but targeting the December release, we should have that changed. It should feel a lot better. It's definitely not blocking, because if folks read the description or do the tutorial, or they'll be able to figure it out. But that was another big thing. I guess those were the two biggest things that we found was just have when the compile gauge goes to full, have the programs automatically pop up, so you don't have to press that button. But about that point, you can still press the button if you're a pro player, hardcore player, to get rid of the menu. So say you pick all your cards, all your programs, and you want to go, and you still have like 10 seconds left. Then you can just hit the menu button and you get rid of it and get back into your game faster. So for the pro players, the functionality is still there. And then the other biggest thing is this kind of hold interaction model that we're planning on changing after this feedback. The next person who played was a guy in his 20s, like mid-20s, mid-25, I want to say, 25, 26. So let's see, where is his notes? Sorry, I just have a lot of notes, but it's mixed in with a bunch of notes from other games. Okay, so it was interesting to observe that he ran out of time when he first started playing before he could finish picking all his cards. So that was interesting. It's also kind of by design. It's supposed to add that kind of suspense and kind of like intensity. Like you have to pick your cards really quickly. You have to strategize very quickly. You have to be on your feet. But he did point that out, that, oh yeah, I ran out of time. I noticed that he didn't understand that the Boomer Blade, which is a boomerang sword, was any different from the regular sword. He said I observed him just using it as a regular sword, and he was able to hold it and figure out how to use it. So that was interesting. That was just another, it's on the description, but that's not enough for most people. So maybe in the future we could, I don't know, make it the shape of a boomerang, or have something consistent across everything that's throwable, like a bomb or a boomerang. That's along there. So don't have any ideas on that right now. Just an observation for now. Let's see. And he did point out that the mini boss and the boss. So the striker bot, the guy who comes down. I'm gonna find you a picture here. Let's see. So this guy here that looks like this, and then the boss, this guy here, has a huge amount of life. So we need to do a little bit more testing on the HP. The part of it is we want it to be challenging. So when you get through to the end of the game, you feel, or like when you finally beat the boss, you actually feel rewarded. So we do want it to be challenging. We do want you to have to retry maybe 2 to 3 times. That's just our thoughts right now. Definitely, that's something that we'll keep in mind when we do more testing, and we'll kind of ask players, how do you feel about the difficulty of the challenge? Do you think it's appropriate? Does it make you want to play again? So just kind of a highlight there. Not really sure how to act on that right now, but just something that we're keeping an eye out, the difficulty. And it's definitely something that we're going to be changing as we get more feedback. I forgot to mention, we also asked everybody to rate our game from a scale of 1 to 5. So the kid rated our game a 5, which is great. The 25-year-old guy, he rated our game a 4. Now I asked him a couple of other follow-up questions. I asked him what his favorite VR game was, and his favorite VR game is Space Parrot Trainer. It's been a long time since I played it, but I heard it's gotten really, really good since the latest update. So he gave that a 5. And then I asked him, the game mechanics are inspired a lot by the Mega Man Battle Network Game Boy game. So I asked him, how did you feel about a Mega Man game? And he gave that a 3. So that's really interesting feedback for us. That's great. It means that, what didn't work for him in the Game Boy game, because he mentioned there was a lot of story and the puzzles and things like that. He didn't like, but he liked the battle and the really actiony parts, which is exactly what this game is. So that kind of gives us really good feedback on what we should be focusing on. So this is great. So we should, he likes the action, and we're kind of taking the best pieces of the gameplay, and we're really, kind of growing on top of that. So okay. Let's see. So the next person I want to say is about in his 30s-ish, I want to say, and a little less experience with playing games or less gamer experience. He actually instinctively learned how to shoot and move and went through all the tutorial and picked up everything very, very quickly, which was great for us to see. And there was one part in the tutorial where you're trying to summon a block, and it teaches you how to summon a block. And we had a feedback saying, you can't summon on the opposite side, on the enemy side of the panels. And he did that a couple times, and they eventually figured it out. So there were things that they were able to kind of bump and guess and check and figure it out, which was great to see. We did some fine. Let's see. But he did die, I think, before the boss. So that was a good observation there. But one feedback he gave us was it was easy to learn, which was great. And he ranked us a 5 out of 5. And then we had one more kid, I want to say, in his teens, maybe like 12, 13, 14-ish. And he was able to pick up everything very quickly. Kids typically pick up new mechanics and interaction models very, very quickly, just from us running the VR arcade in San Jose and just kind of observing that and having kids play test. So, but he did learn how to use the sword, this kid in particular, so the holding sword mechanic. And he was able to get to the boss, and he did pretty well, but eventually did die. And we had another kid want to come back and play it again as well. Hopefully I'm still live. I just got an interrupted phone call there. Okay, so I wonder what that does to the video. Okay, so and then I really want to go over feedback from actually one of our Patreon supporters. So Dakota, I sent Dakota a test build of the game, and so Dakota said that spent about like an hour playing the first time, 45 minutes playing the second time, which was really awesome. Like I know I could, I really enjoy the game and I could play for a very long time, which is kind of a really good metric on measuring how fun it is, how replayable it is. So, oh man, my setup just after that phone call is getting destroyed. So that's great to be able to see that this was playable for 1 hour and then an extra 45 minutes after that on the second play. So Dakota split this up into like a bunch of pros and cons. I'm just going to really briefly go over some of them. Said most of the enemies were very well made, kept him on his feet. Blasters worked really fun, learned to lead shots, card mechanics worked well. Using the cards was flexible. Found myself using different methods each round, which is great. It's designed to be like a card game, like a strategy game. So that's exactly what we wanted, and for it to feel different every single time, like you're playing a card game with a deck, like Magic or Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that. Overall, the combat felt really good. Didn't take me long to get the basics, which is great. That's consistent with the feedback that we got at the meetup as well. And some cons. So found that the blasters worked really well up until the boss, and then they felt extremely underpowered. So that right now the Lemon Buster, the blaster that we're talking about, is only deals 1 damage, and the boss has like 5,000 health right now. In the future, like in the 2018 release, after the December release, probably like around hopefully January, February, spring time frame, we want to add a new mechanic that's a charge blaster. So you press and hold to charge your Lemon Buster, and it gets bigger up to a point, and then you release it, and it does 10 damage. So a charge shot. I've always planned on doing it, but it's just been kind of deprioritized just because there's a lot of other stuff to get to. But I think having that will help with when you get to stronger enemies, especially if there's only one, you can focus your fire on a single enemy and then kind of like release a charge shot, especially if they're bigger or they're bosses and things like that. So I think adding that will allow us to kind of balance that a little better. And just real quick, actually, never mind. So let's see. Some of the cards I felt like they had very little use. Specifically, the Rook and the Lance, the back Lance. The Rook is just something that you hide behind, that you defend behind. Totally agree with that. Lance is something that only affects an enemy that's in the back. But if they're in the back, it's 100% accuracy shot. So just like every card game, right now this is by no means balanced or finished balancing, but in every card game there's some cards that are more useful in certain situations, less useful in certain situations, and some cards that are just really good or just really bad. So I think our solution to that is just we have spec'd out and planned 150 cards, 150 programs, and right now we're just seeing I think like 20, 25 of them right now. So in the future, there should be more variety. You should be able to build your own deck, and hopefully this will feel a little less impactful, because then you can build your own deck of cards that you like, that you like to use, that you don't think are useless or less useful. So the spider bots having 10 HP, Dakota said, was a huge nuisance. Because I found that I spent more time trying to kill them than killing the den or the producer, the thing that creates the spider bots. Because spider bots come out of the den, and then the den, you actually have to kill the den to beat the level, essentially. I'm just trying to see if I can find a picture of it, or maybe I don't have a picture of it. Might not have a picture of it here. So. In any case, actually we just fixed that. The fix is in the single-player version that's coming out on October 30th. The spider bots, we've rebalanced it to 5 HP, so now you can actually kill it with 5 Lemon Buster shots, and it'll blow up, and you can kind of focus your time on other things. It's kind of a balance between like how do we want the player to interact with the spider bots? Do we want them to have to dodge it, in which case having 10 HP means you have to like run around and dodge it, because they come at you and they explode when they hit you, or if we want the player to shoot them and have them explode, maybe strategically on another enemy or something like that. So we're going to try 5 HP, but I do agree it's not as much fun having them have that much health and you just have to dodge around. It's just a little frustrating, I guess. So that's not the feeling that we want. So we changed that and we're going to see how it works. Let's see, a couple other things. The Lemon Buster feeling weak, and the spider bots I think were the biggest cons. Dakota even listed out some bugs for us. Thank you so much for all your time and for doing this. We really appreciate it. There's some, let's see, let me find a good one. There's one boss. There's the guy before the mini boss, the striker bot, the guy with the claws that come out like this. Turns out he wasn't doing damage to the player, so we figured out exactly what that was very quickly. Basically, like that was the first thing that I worked on after reading this feedback, and that's been fixed. That's out on Steam now. Super annoying because like in the Unity editor that doesn't reproduce, but only in the exe file that you put on Steam does it reproduce. So, but we figured out what that was. It was just a script execution order thing in Unity. And then, there's an exploitation of one of the programs. So the howitzer, or the big thing that looks like a cannon and then it shoots out bombs. That thing fires out a bomb every time it's hit by an enemy or by you. So in a case where an enemy or you are continuously hitting it very, very quickly, it actually shoots out like a stream of bombs, and it's so super OP. It's super overpowered. That's a known issue. We're gonna fix that for the December release. We're gonna add a delay in there so it can only shoot out a certain number of bombs per rate or per second. Let's see, and then just some other general feedback. So in any case, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you everybody so much for our alpha testers, for alpha tester community, for providing us with this great feedback, for coming to our meetups, for sending us emails and such of our feedback for the games. We would love to grow our alpha tester community, have more people test it. Always love your feedback, and continue providing you guys with new builds, so you guys can continue testing. We can continue to iterate and improve the game on feedback. So yes, huge thanks to Dakota and the rest of our alpha tester community. If you want to join our alpha test community, you can go on your web browser, go to virtualworldarcade.com/CYCOM. CYCOM is spelled CYCOM. There you'll be able to join, and we'll be able to get you a key at this point, since the game's on Steam now. We'll get you a key, and you can download it from Steam and play test, and love to hear your feedback. And just as a side note, before we end it for today, Francisco, I mentioned Francisco was in surgery and in the hospital last week. He is safe and sound. He is out of surgery now, so super happy about that. And I think that's about it. I did originally, before getting all this really great feedback, I wanted to actually use this session to talk about how developers post games on Steam, kind of give you guys a behind-the-scenes look on, how does a person actually, get their game on Steam. I don't know, it might be interesting, educational for some people. Hello from Brazil. Well, hello from San Jose to Brazil. Thank you for joining. But we'll probably save that for another session. In the meantime, just as a quick update, working on multiplayer, that's really the biggest thing, and a couple, like high priority items here and there from hearing your feedback. So that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you all for joining us. We will post links to our virtualworldarcade.com/CYCOM devlog on the YouTube video that this turns into, and I'll also post the link to the game on Steam in the YouTube video and in our devlog on virtualworldarcade.com/CYCOM. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next week at our weekly Tuesday 6 p.m. Pacific time developer Q&A live stream. Unless anybody else has any questions right now, which I don't think so. All right, cool. Thank you guys, and see you guys next week. Bye.